Roddy Piper, known in the ring as Rowdy Roddy Piper, had a childhood marked by challenges that shaped the resilient and charismatic wrestler the world would come to know. Born in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, one of the coldest places on earth, Piper grew up facing adversity from an early age. His nomadic life, a result of his father's work as a railroad police officer, kept him constantly on the move, never staying in one place for long. At one point in his childhood, he lived on a Native American reservation for about 6 months, where he was the only white boy. This experience forced him to learn to fight, literally, to earn respect and survive. Piper's childhood was filled with incidents and fresh starts. He faced new environments, hostile peers, and often violence at home. His relationship with his father was distant and harsh, characterized by physical punishments that Piper rarely spoke of, but that left deep scars. Constant moves between homes and schools forced Piper to start over repeatedly. Each new city brought the same cycle, proving his strength in fights, establishing a reputation, and returning home to face further punishments. He seemed to be in a constant battle, both inside and outside his home. The lack of stability and domestic violence created a traumatic environment he desperately sought to escape. Roddy Piper found solace not only in wrestling, but also in bagpipes, which became a refuge. At the age of 6, he began playing them, transforming the powerful and piercing sound into an emotional shield against the world around him. Those moments with the bagpipes were sacred. It was as if he disappeared into his own universe. "Nobody dared interrupt me," he would often say. Music became his sanctuary and, in some ways, his comfort in a chaotic childhood. It was during this time that the literal and figurative fighting began to shape his personality. Piper quickly gained a reputation as someone who never backed down from a fight, a reputation that followed him into his teenage years. In one memorable instance, 2 friends brought him to the house of a tough local boy named Cam, known for his strength. Without much talk, a challenge was issued, and Piper, already an experienced amateur wrestler and lightweight boxing champion in Toronto, emerged victorious. Ironically, this fight forged a lasting friendship with Cam. As a teenager, Piper discovered wrestling in high school and quickly excelled, earning 2nd place in city competitions. Wrestling became not just a passion, but an escape valve for the pressures of his personal life. However, his relationship with his father remained a source of tension. The rigidity and conflicts at home reached a breaking point, leading Piper to leave. "I took my bagpipes and never looked back," he would admit, with a mix of sadness and relief. From that moment on, Roddy became a true wanderer. His life consisted of nights spent in hostels, YMCAs, or even on the streets. When cheap accommodations were full, the sidewalk became his bed, and survival was a daily struggle. He played his bagpipes on the streets to earn coins, stole to meet basic needs, and eventually fell in with a group of troubled youths. It was a slow, steady descent into a lifestyle he despised, but saw as his only option at the time. Violence continued to be a part of his life, now taking darker forms. Piper faced not only physical threats, but also the risk of abuse, against which he fiercely defended himself. These painful and humiliating experiences made him even more resilient, but also fed internal demons he would carry for the rest of his life. His brief involvement in petty crime deeply embarrassed him, something he rarely revisited in conversation. For Piper, this phase was a grim reminder of how far he had gone to survive and how hard he had fought to find his way back. Los Angeles marked a turning point in Roddy Piper's life. Despite the exhausting routine of gyms and impromptu performances, it was at the Olympic Auditorium that he began to understand the true potential of wrestling. Piper realized it wasn't just about strength, but also about performance. He started incorporating elements of provocation, humor, and theatrics into his matches, turning each performance into a unique spectacle. The kilt and bagpipes became more than accessories. They were symbols of his individuality, setting him apart in a competitive arena. However, his initial success brought challenges as well. Piper faced resistance both in and out of the ring due to his provocative style and intense personality. Under the guidance of Gene LaBelle, he honed his skills, learning not just wrestling techniques, but also the importance of control and strategy. This mentorship was crucial in shaping the persona that would later become a wrestling legend. As his reputation grew, Piper gained recognition in different territories. His talent for eliciting reactions from the crowd was unmatched, and he knew how to turn each match into a compelling narrative. But success came with sacrifices. Piper endured a grueling schedule and periods of isolation, reflecting a life devoted to the ring. Nevertheless, he continued his journey, fully aware that wrestling was his ticket out of the hardships that had defined his youth. From his earliest moments in Los Angeles, Roddy Piper understood the power of storytelling in wrestling, and it made him unforgettable. He knew the line between hero and villain was thin, and that, more often than not, the villain was the one running the show. At the Olympic Auditorium, Piper began shaping his bad boy identity. He didn't need grandiose moves or flawless technique. A sneer or a well-placed insult was enough to ignite the crowd. He mastered the art of manipulating emotions, turning every performance into an unmissable spectacle. For Piper, the audience's boos were just as valuable as their cheers, perhaps even more so. Backstage, Piper was a natural strategist. He spent hours brainstorming ways to intensify his persona in the ring. His mantra was simple: conflict generates cash. He knew that every insult and every sharp-tongued remark drew crowds. It was an effective yet risky formula. Piper wasn't just hated by fans. His audacity often created tension among his colleagues as well. A classic example of his calculated tactics was his interaction with the Guerrero family. Known as heroes in the wrestling industry, the Guerreros were much more to the Latino community, representing a rare presence of Latino heroes on television. When Piper began verbally attacking them, it wasn't just a taunt. It felt deeply personal to many, and Piper knew exactly how to fuel the fire. His aggressive insult toward the Guerrero clan was a deliberate move designed to provoke the strongest reaction possible. In one day, in a crowded audience of Mexicans, that's when he pulled out his bagpipes, and instead of playing the Mexican national anthem as a way of apologizing for the attacks, shocked everyone by performing La Cucaracha, a traditional song about a cockroach. The already enraged crowd erupted into chaos. Chairs were thrown, the stage was stormed. It was like witnessing a car crash. Horrible, yet impossible to look away from. Piper stood at the heart of the chaos, somehow relishing it. Despite the controversy, Piper was indispensable. His promos sold tickets and boosted ratings. The company knew that, polarizing as he was, Piper was a catalyst for success. "People may hate me, but they always come back to watch," he said with an ironic smile. Piper's intensity extended beyond the ring and into his personal life. He was a man of extremes, oscillating between introspective moments and bursts of energy. Those who knew him well understood that behind the character was a man bearing the scars of a life full of battles, both in and out of the ring. His ability to connect his past to his present narrative was another unique aspect of Piper's persona. During a visit to Hollywood with his daughter, he made a point of showing her the streets where he had slept as a young man. It was a harsh but powerful lesson. Piper wanted her to understand that the glamour she now saw had been earned through blood, sweat, and tears. This duality, the man and the myth, continued to fuel the legend of Roddy Piper. As he conquered new territories, his eyes were always set on the next challenge, the next audience to captivate, and perhaps the next person to provoke. In the height of the 1980s, Piper's career took a new turn with his foray into Hollywood, where he starred in the cult film They Live. The experience marked a milestone in his journey, showcasing a different side of his personality. His performance in the film, along with one of its most iconic lines, cemented him as a pop culture icon. Yet, despite his success on the big screen, Piper's love for wrestling never wavered. The ring remained the place where his true essence came alive. Even as his film career ascended, Piper would return to wrestling whenever he could. The familiar environment of the industry and the visceral reaction of the fans always called him back. The energy of the crowd, which he knew how to manipulate like no other, made his time in the ring an unparalleled experience for both him and the audience. Wrestling, for Piper, wasn't just a profession. It was a way of life. This was the essence of Roddy Piper. He wasn't just a wrestler, but a top-tier showman. When he moved to Portland, where no one knew him, he had to start his career over. But that wasn't an obstacle. It was an opportunity. Roddy knew that to be the best, he had to build his brand. And that's exactly what he did. He brought his unique charisma, frenetic energy, and ability to provoke intense reactions that made him unforgettable. Backstage, those who knew him saw a different side. Beneath the bad guy persona was a genuine and caring man. He treated those he worked with kindly, and even outside the ring, his popularity was no accident. Roddy knew how to connect with people. His story involving a waitress in Portland, for instance, revealed a side of Piper that few knew. He wasn't just a wrestling star, but someone who won people over with his authenticity. And while his in-ring image was that of a tough guy, beneath it lay a deeply respectful man who would never attack a woman or insult someone without reason. But Roddy Piper's life was never just about excess and fame. Among countless stories of parties, chaos, and matches, there was a raw, lonely reality. The constant pressure to stay on top, to be the guy, placed an immense burden on him, especially for someone who, deep down, was always searching for his own space in the world, far from external expectations and distractions. The reality of always being on the move, always in transition, and never truly at home, mirrored his struggles inside and outside the ring. This dichotomy between Roddy Piper, the immortal bad guy of WWE, and the real man facing deep personal challenges is what truly shaped the legend. In interviews, he revealed that behind all the bravado and provocations was immense loneliness, a man trying to find his place in a chaotic world. "I didn't want to be the guy on top all the time," he once said, "but the business demanded it of me, and I didn't have a choice." As his professional life reached epic proportions, with rivalries that defined wrestling eras and drew massive crowds, Piper's personal life became increasingly complicated. Alongside Ric Flair, one of wrestling's all-time greats, Piper experienced the wildest side of the profession, endless nights of parties, feuds, and turbulent relationships. They were friends outside the ring, but inside it, they were true antagonists. Two icons with opposing styles that together created unparalleled spectacle. Yet beneath the image of the irreverent, fiery wrestler was a man with a profound sense of identity. Piper understood what it meant to be different, to stand out in a crowd. He refused to settle for just being another face in the ring. To him, words and actions had to leave a mark, and he had a unique ability to create unforgettable moments that would stay with fans for decades. He often said, "There's nothing like stepping into the ring and hearing that crowd noise," but traveling 3,000 miles a week became routine, but it was still exhausting for him. Often, when he returned home, he couldn't immediately relax. The weight of his explosive character required a period of adjustment. He preferred isolating himself in a hotel before heading home as a way to transition from the life of a wrestler to that of a father and husband. His arrival in WWE further solidified his status as an icon. He didn't just adapt to the promotion's new era, but played a pivotal role in establishing WWE as the powerhouse it would become. Vince McMahon knew exactly what he was doing by bringing Roddy to New York. Piper was an invaluable asset, ready to deliver rivalries that would resonate across generations of fans. During the 1980s, as the rock and wrestling connection gained momentum, Piper saw an opportunity to position himself as the ultimate antagonist, not just against WWE's heroes, but also against outsiders like Cyndi Lauper. He elevated WWE to a global stage, drawing attention from mainstream media, including MTV. As celebrities like Lauper and Mr. T joined the WWE universe, the promotion reached unprecedented exposure levels. But what truly drove the spectacle was the chemistry between its wrestlers. Piper's chaotic energy and drama, paired with Hulk Hogan's charisma and heroism, created an unmatched dynamic. The storylines, often fueled by Piper, extended far beyond the ring, incorporating psychological battles and moments that kept fans on the edge of their seats. Unlike many of his peers who relied on physicality or technical skill, Piper carved his niche through the art of speech and psychological warfare. He knew that words could cut deeper than any blade, and this often made him an unstoppable force. Piper's relationships with other WWE icons were marked by tension, but also by mutual respect. Hulk Hogan, Mr. T, and even Vince McMahon recognized Piper's irreplaceable value. Despite his polarizing opinions and strong personality, Piper understood the bigger picture of the spectacle. He wasn't there just to wrestle. He was there to create unforgettable moments. Beneath the villainous persona, Roddy Piper was a man of principles. He viewed wrestling as an art form, a spectacle where boundaries were constantly pushed, and he never shied away from crossing them. As WWE expanded into the global empire it is today, much of its growth was due to Piper's understanding of the antagonist's role. He didn't merely seek to be hated, he sought to be indispensable to the narrative, a role he mastered like no one else. Outside the ring, Piper had clear aspirations for life beyond wrestling. Hollywood was the natural next step, and he pursued it with the same determination he brought to the ring. His venture into cinema was an extension of his larger-than-life persona, a man unafraid to challenge norms and refuse mediocrity. His portrayal of John Nada in They Live exemplified this spirit. The line, "I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass, and I'm all out of bubblegum," became a cinematic icon encapsulating Piper's essence. A man of few but impactful words. Despite his defiant character, Piper was instrumental in shaping the future of wrestling. Before him, antagonists were merely meant to be booed. Piper redefined the villain's role, imbuing it with purpose and value. He proved that being hated could be as vital to the story as being loved. This vision helped elevate wrestling into the global phenomenon it is today. During conversation with Vince McMahon, Piper once remarked, "Wrestling will change, but the essence of who we are and what we do will never disappear." This statement reflected both his forward-thinking nature and his love for the legacy he had built. When Piper returned to wrestling after his Hollywood stint, he brought with him a level of credibility few could rival. Understanding the dynamics of marketing, he knew that reinvention was key to remaining an icon, but he always stayed true to his authentic self. His comeback wasn't just a promotional move. It was a testament to the fans' longing to see Roddy Piper, proving his timeless appeal. Piper's contributions extended beyond his own career. He played a pivotal role in mentoring younger wrestlers, teaching them the art of entertainment, the psychology of wrestling, and the importance of audience connection. Piper was never hesitant to share his wisdom, knowing that the collective success of the wrestling world would only enhance his legacy. In every sense, Roddy Piper was a trailblazer. From his unforgettable promos to his psychological mastery, his impact on wrestling transcended the ring. Piper wasn't just a wrestler or a performer. He was a storyteller, a pioneer, and a legend whose influence continues to resonate. Despite his deep love for his family, work always came first, and this was reflected in the difficulties of balancing personal life with his career. Piper was a man who gave everything to his craft, but also understood the value of connecting with his children and wife. What many didn't see was the man behind the character, a father who, despite his absences, tried to make up for them with intense moments of affection and presence. His children remembered the dedication with which he pampered them when he was home. Roddy, upon returning from long tours, was not just a tired wrestler, but a father eager to make the most of the brief moments with his family. For him, birthday parties, Christmases, and simple moments became opportunities to provide what he himself lacked in childhood, a constant and affectionate presence. However, his attempt to be the ideal father often clashed with his longing for the ring and the need to continue his career, leaving him feeling torn. On one hand, he tried to be a loving father. On the other, his constant wrestling commitments prevented him from being present for his children. This dichotomy between the professional and the personal tormented him constantly. He often felt he was missing out on precious moments in his children's lives, but he also knew he couldn't escape wrestling's call. The job and life of a wrestler were demanding and relentless, leading to a state of constant inner conflict. However, this emotional burden didn't demotivate him. Roddy Piper continued to fight, not just in the ring, but in his personal life as well. His children, even with the absence of a physically present father at all times, knew he cared deeply. And when he was home, he tried his best to create positive memories, moments of affection and fun to fill the void left by his travels and days away. This love for his family and his commitment to work created a paradox in his life: the need to dedicate himself to what he loved while also feeling the urgency to be present for those he loved. Like many others in his position, he had to balance these two facets of his life with unique strength and determination. The constant pain from injuries, ranging from bruises to severe fractures, was part of his daily life, but he never openly showed how much he was suffering. His determination to keep fighting, even when his body was visibly battered, reflected his passion for wrestling and an immense resilience that many could not understand. Pain and sacrifice became recurring themes in his life, especially when Piper began to speak openly about the impact of the wrestling industry on his health and personal life. The constant injuries, lack of recovery time, and pressure to keep performing led to deep frustrations that he started to externalize, such as in the infamous HBO interview where he spoke about the industry's challenges and his struggles. It was a dark time for him, marked by physical exhaustion and the emotional pain of seeing many of his friends die prematurely due to the lifestyle wrestling imposed. The loss of contracts and the struggle to find a new purpose outside the ring left him vulnerable, grappling with depression and his inner demons. His journey, both on and off the screen, was always a mix of moments of greatness and periods of internal conflict. The recognition from fans and colleagues, especially when he was inducted into the Hall of Fame, was well-deserved, but also felt like a farewell to an era. The industry that shaped and consumed him over the years now acknowledged him, but unresolved questions remained about the cost of his journey and the effects of a life dedicated to wrestling. Roddy Piper understood that nothing in life was permanent, and wrestling, like any other profession, was no exception. He was fully aware that the impact of his choices would extend beyond the ring, affecting his body, personal relationships, and mental health. As the years went by, Roddy began to explore new paths. His interest in comedy and acting emerged, not merely as alternatives, but as a form of therapy. On stage, he found a way to deal with his suffering, transforming his pain into something that could entertain and even heal. Stand-up comedy became a means of exercising inner demons, seeking a more authentic connection with his fans and himself. In his later years, his struggles became more apparent. Roddy could no longer hide the fatigue that had accumulated over the years. It wasn't just the physical toll of wrestling, but the emotional exhaustion of living a life full of highs and lows, an existence marked by pain and perseverance. His passing, though anticipated by some due to his declining health, still came as a shock to many. When he died, the world mourned deeply. Yet, the legacy he left for his children, his friends, and fans worldwide was immeasurable. His impact went far beyond his prowess in the ring. It was about how he made people feel, how he connected with them, and how he challenged the system. He was never a man to conform to others' expectations. As he so often said, "I am who I am." And that was enough to leave an indelible mark on wrestling history. In his final days, Roddy still found the strength to share precious moments with those he loved. His passing, which occurred peacefully at home, was a comfort to his wife, as at least he wasn't alone, a solace not everyone gets to experience. For many, his death marked the end of an era, but for those closest to him, it was a relief that he was finally at rest after a life filled with turmoil and greatness. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any of the amazing videos we'll be releasing. And if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to hit the like button and share it with your friends. See you in the next one.